Okay? So, Richard, we will begin with you. Would you like to use one of these balls? Or would you like to make your own questions, or one of the questions that you wrote? Would you rather ask your own questions, or one of the questions that you sent to me?
Well, what about the white questions?
Okay, we will begin. Él quiere al juego, al riesgo, al riesgo. Doki dice, yo quiero una pregunta de alguien que no conozca. La pregunta es nada más y nada menos. This question is from Alan de Botton. Wow. En español se las digo y ahora en inglés. ¿Alguna vez es suficiente? En inglés. Is it ever enough simply not to believe? What else can one believe in? ¿Alguna vez es suficiente simplemente no creer? ¿En qué más puede uno creer?
Let me see the question. I didn't hear what. Is it ever enough simply not to believe? What else can one believe in?
Please.
Okay, so let me start out by saying that, in my opinion, all belief is a cover-up for insecurity. All belief. If I asked you, do you believe in electricity or gravity, you would find that a ridiculous question. So I'm not here to convince you that you should believe in anything, especially the supernatural. I'm here to ask you the most fundamental question that was posed earlier. Does the universe have a purpose? And there are two ways of looking at it. If you look at it from the top down, from the point of view of biological organisms, it looks like biological organisms are purpose-driven. Even a nematode or a small microorganism has some kind of sentience. It senses the environment, it processes it, it gets away from predators, it looks for food. So, to me, biological organisms are purpose-driven, there's no question. In the human nervous system, that takes on questions like, do I have a soul? Does God exist? What is the meaning of life? Why is there a universe? Why is there awareness? Is there truth, goodness, beauty, harmony? Is evolution merely random mutations and natural selection? Or could there be other factors? Could it be guided by awareness and behavior? These questions occur to human beings. But I would say all organisms are purpose-driven. Now, when you look at this from the bottom up, from the point of view of individual particles coming out of the so-called quantum vacuum, there seems to be no purpose. It seems to be totally random for the individual particles that emerge from the infinite void, you might say, purposely, without purpose. But when you look at the sum total of their activity, you have a universe. You have constants that fine-tune the universe to be what it is. You have precise laws of nature which make sense to a rational human being. So I think even from the bottom up, I'm compelled to say that there's an organizing intelligence, there's a deeper consciousness that throws out this universe at the speed of light.
Sorry,
from nothing.
Dr. Chopra. Time is over. Thank you very much. Un aplauso, por favor. So now,
there is no question but that...
You have 90 seconds, please.
There is no
90 segundos en el reloj.
There is no question, of course, but that individual organisms, nematode worms, birds, kangaroos, anything you like, behaves as if they have a purpose. You described apparent sentience on the part of worms. They react to stimuli, they approach things. Individual organisms, animals, plants, bacteria, all behave as if they have a purpose. That's precisely the problem that Darwin solved. Why do living things look as though they've got a purpose? Darwin showed showed the answer to that problem was evolution by natural selection. But that's a very, very different matter from saying that the universe has a purpose. This is a complete confusion of scale. Individual organisms have a purpose for reasons we understand very well, Darwinian reasons, but that is 100 miles, 1,000,000 miles from saying that something like the universe has a purpose. Purpose came into the universe late. It came into the universe late after the Darwinian process had got going, had produced nervous systems, had produced brains. Brains are things that have purposes. Brains have purposes. Brains, in the case of human brains, make machines which also have purposes. But that's the correct understanding of purpose. To push purpose back to the universe itself is to make a complete confusion.
You have, Deepak, 60 seconds.
I think the confusion is because Dr. Dawkins looks at biological organisms as separate from the universe and not as activities of the universe. You and I right now are an activity of the universe. And as an activity of the universe, we are expressing purpose. But Dr. Dawkins did not address why the universe is fine-tuned so that we can have this conversation. Why are the laws so rational? What is the origin of these laws? To bypass that, we would have to propose 10 to the power of 500 universes that randomly arise from nothing. Not only is the universe arising from nothing, but this nothing seems to be the womb of creation, where nature goes to the same place to create a galaxy of stars or an electrochemical impulse in your own neural networks.
Thank you very much. We have two options. One is, now we take another ball and now you make him a question, or we give each of you 1 more minute to keep talking in depth about this important concern. Would you rather that?
Yeah.
Por favor, pongan otra vez. You will have 3 minutes and you 3 minutes, okay? Por favor, 3 minutos, please.
The issue of the fine-tuning of the universe, of course, is a completely different one, and it's a very interesting one which we can talk about. However, that was not what you were originally talking about. You were originally talking about the apparent purposefulness of living organisms, which is striking. I mean, it's a very, very important aspect of living things. That's why we needed Darwin to explain it. Darwin did explain it. Darwin explained how, starting with no purpose at all, nothing that you could call purpose, the laws of physics, working through this remarkable process called evolution by natural selection, gave rise to cells, to nerve cells, to nervous systems, to brains, to the illusion of purpose. Well, indeed, the very genuine purpose, because in living things, purpose is a very genuine phenomenon. We understand how it happened because of evolution. Now, to go back to the universe is another matter entirely. And now you've changed the subject and talked about the alleged fine-tuning of the universe, which is a very important and interesting question, one that is the province of physics. You and I are both biologists, not physicists, but we can have a go at talking about it. Some physicists have alleged that the fundamental constants of the universe are very fine-tuned, such that if any of them were any different, the universe would not come into being the way that it is, and we wouldn't have stars, we wouldn't have galaxies, we wouldn't have chemistry, we wouldn't have life, and we wouldn't have us. Some physicists dispute the alleged fine-tuning. Other physicists say that we don't yet understand enough about physics in order to know where those fundamental constants come from. Yet other physicists still talk about a multiverse in which there's a very large number of universes, and most of those universes do not have the physical constants tuned in order to give rise to us, but a tiny minority do, And by the anthropic principle, we clearly have to be in one of those universes that does have those properties. 3 minutes is an absurdly short time in which to talk about this, and it wasn't the original question, but perhaps we can come back to it on with a later discussion.
Muchas gracias. Dr. Chopra, he just want to use 2 minutes. You have 3 minutes like he had.
Okay.
Whatever you want. But
So Dr. Dawkins, you and I are both have biological backgrounds, and we have both dabbled a little bit in quantum physics. I have to say that my current book is co-authored by a chaired professor in genetics and neuroscience at Harvard. I am writing and have papers accepted in professional journals on quantum biology and neuroscience, and I can give you the citations later. But there's a school of scientists who believe that if you look across the universe, it shows the following properties: sentience at all levels. By sentience, I mean the ability to sense information, process it, and come up with an intelligent response. Complementarity at all levels, which means that the universe is empirical, but most of it is actually non-empirical, non-observable. It is wave-like. When you don't know where these waves are, they'd have no units of mass and energy, and it is particle-like, which have units of mass and energy. So it gets weird at this level. But it also seems to be self-organizing, it seems to be self-regulating, it seems to be self-evolving. It's an evolution. Of course, I'm not arguing with you that Darwin is right or wrong. I think Darwin made the most major contribution that we can have to our understanding of the evolution of species. But that's not the question. The question is, does evolution itself have a purpose? And I think, yes, evolution has a purpose. It's evolution itself. Evolution is guided by awareness, by consciousness, and the purpose of evolution is maximum diversity, because that's what we see in the universe. And what we experience as perceptual phenomena are not fundamental reality at all, because every